Welcome to the Roar Mindset, Leading Through Chaos. I'm Peter Brandenburger, and I help leaders embrace chaos to turn disruption into an advantage. Each episode brings stories and strategies to help you stop fighting disruption, lead with clarity, and thrive in uncertain times. Today, I'm joined by Addy Roff, a certified integral coach, consultant, and marketing leader with more than 2 decades of experience helping organizations bring products to life. Addy integrates integral coaching and product marketing to help leaders strengthen their presence and improve team dynamics. In our conversation, we explore leadership from within, what nourishes and energizes leaders, and how to embrace the fear of the unknown. This episode includes concept from Tara Mohr's Playing Big program and book shared through Addy's own reflections and practical applications of that work. She offers powerful insights on how awareness and compassion create space for decisive, authentic leadership. You might also be intrigued by Addy's perspective on leadership lessons drawn from her Icelandic roots. Enjoy. Well, thank you, Addy, for joining today.
My pleasure. Thank you, Peter, for having me.
Well, I can't wait to talk about playing big and how that can help people through disruptions. But first, maybe let's start off with what matters most to you as a way of just checking in with you and people to know who you are.
What is mattering most for me these days is being out in the world. I mean, in real life,
Mm.
three-dimensional experience
With
of the
people.
world and people and people. And I think I've heard it said by others too. It's just in some ways a response to what we've all been living through in this digital world we've been in since the pandemic, which also has made a lot of things possible. So I'm not against it. But I think the other piece of that is that I'm in a new community that we moved to full time 2 years ago. So community is a big thing for me. And so being out in the world, meeting people, just engaging in all the different ways, taking classes, going to events, political activities, fun things. So music, all of that.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, what's your favorite activity? What's your favorite recent activity?
Mm, gosh. Well, I got out to play tennis a couple months ago and I hadn't played in a long time. And that was a lot of fun. It reminded me of how important play is and how long I had not been playing. When life is crazy busy, you've got kids at home, you're working full time, you have lots of responsibilities. Play just does not make it to the list. At least it didn't for me. So to remind myself that how joyful it is, also how connecting it is, energizing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting. I've been working with a group and I'm having them do a values exercise, and I did it myself to kind of refresh. And play was one of those words that I kept on the list of 5.
Yeah.
It's a good
Yeah.
reminder, folks, to play. It's how you learn. Before we jump into playing big, can you just give us a background about what it is and what's the concept and how did
Mhm.
you come to be, and therefore you recommending it to me,
Mm.
actually?
Which is something that we should talk about or touch on at some point. I first heard about playing big through a friend of ours, Arela, who we both know from our coaching program at New Ventures West. And it was a program that she had done, I don't know, years ago before she started coaching. That was sort of her entree into coaching. And I remember her telling me the name of this book, and I was like, oh, I don't like that name. Like, I just had this very visceral response, which is so interesting. And I don't know what I thought it would be. I thought it would be like, you too can make $1 million coaching in your first, year or whatever. I just somehow that's where my mind went.
Hmm.
Eventually, I don't really know what happened. Maybe I started seeing more of Tara online. So Tara Mohr is the author of Playing Big. And then I was intrigued because she has a beautiful, poetic, spiritual, like grounded in science kind of way about her. Her writing's really beautiful. And so eventually I started paying attention. And then I thought, well, I'm going to, I bought the book. And after reading the book, I thought it would be a great complement to my coaching program, especially as a woman. So many things in that book really resonated with me. So, for what Tara comes from the world of nonprofits, like very pedigreed educational background, and eventually moved to coaching. And she started seeing recurring themes with these women, hundreds and hundreds of women that were from the outside looking in, so accomplished, so smart, so much to offer the world, but they were full of self-doubt, often didn't feel like they were qualified enough, they did not know enough, they were not good enough, all these reasons. They didn't, you know, they sort of limited themselves
Hmm.
in moving forward. They felt that they always need to be, you know, everything had to be perfected before they could step into something new. From what she says in the book, is that she was so the world could be a better place if we were, especially if we had women more engaged. And speaking as a woman, I think that's true. I love men. I have a husband. I have a son. I think we need both, but I think women have been really absent from the conversation, and especially conversations and being at the table where power is and where big
Hmm.
decisions are made.
Hmm.
So, I mean, this is her way of wanting to impact the world, is like how to equip women to go out and, she says, play big, stop playing small. We all know what that means. But playing big is like, how do you come into your full power and live authentically and maybe follow some of those dreams and callings? So the book is really a roadmap. It's kind of a journey in a way. It's like sort of understanding some of the key concepts she ran into repeatedly, like the different ways, the self-limiting beliefs that we may have. And then once you understand those and can work with those, moving into action. And, what are the things that you need along the way that can fulfill you and keep you energized, motivated, etc.
Yeah. And also, what came to me too when you were talking about women coming into this power, I would add to that that I think her perspective, and I believe this is yours, is you're stepping into it from a perspective of abundance as opposed to a competitive position. In other words, I'm going to take this
Mm,
power from somebody else. No, it's
all
just
right.
this is the power you can have, and there's abundance, and
Mm-hmm.
there's not a limiting supply of this. So go
Yeah.
take it and stop suppressing what is really there inside of you.
Yeah. It's not a zero sum game, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
It seems like a shame in this life that we're given to only live kind of halfway,
Hmm. Yeah.
to push off the dreams and to not do them because they're just ideas that we have about ourselves, which oftentimes don't actually even align with what the people are close to us see in us.
Hmm.
Like, how strange is that?
Yeah.
So, how can we kind of see ourselves truly for what we are and what's possible and our potential?
Yeah, so it's showing up authentically in
Mm,
this non-scarcity mindset, kind of
mhm,
showing up in the world like that. Maybe now's a good time to address for all the guys out there listening to this or watching this is there anything that we can learn from this? And maybe I can start
mhm.
with my own perspective. So you recommended this book to really my client, but I didn't want to just recommend it to her without listening to it. So
Yeah.
I listen to books. I don't read books, as you know, but for
Yeah.
everybody else,
Yeah.
that's what happens. So I
Hmm.
listened to the book and I found it very useful for me personally, but also as you're leading women, or in my case, coaching women now,
Yeah.
it's a very good perspective to understand as well. So it kind of
Hmm.
challenges some of the perspectives. But
Hmm.
also, I don't know, for me, it was, I don't know, 80 or 90% still very useful for men, if not
Yeah.
more.
Hmm.
So I recommend it to male leaders or really any leader.
Yeah. Yeah. So, first of all, I love that you read it. I think it's really cool. And yeah, I think, she pulls from a lot of different disciplines. Um, not even there's a spiritual component to some of the things that she brings in, things that are backed by science and research. So there are definitely things that I think would resonate for a lot of people. But she writes it specifically for women in some of the things that she saw as common themes. And I totally agree. If you have a wife or a daughter or you're managing women, like being aware that we are so shaped by our culture. And we know that when girls start to hit puberty, they start to retreat. They start to, that's something in education we know, the data shows that girls, well, before that age have been raising their hand and answering questions and putting themselves out there. They start to go inward. They start to be very concerned about what people think of them, of being wrong. Like there's interesting dynamic there. This is a way to counteract some of that. Like I don't know exactly the dynamic that happens for girls at that time, like why it happens. We just know that it does. There's a lot in there: inner critic, fear, hiding. You know guys that experience all those things,
Mm-hmm.
right?
That's true. So let's jump into how do you play big? Where should we start?
Where do you start? Okay, well, so I kind of break down the book, and I'll say that there's a few things that I'm going to bring in that are not in the book because they were in the training program that I did with Tara Mohr, but 80% of what I'm going to talk about is from the book. So the book is really kind of there's two parts of the book. The first part is sort of opening our eyes to the ways in which we limit ourselves and the shapes that it takes, which may not be true for everyone, but also may be true only for certain domains in your life. Like it may not be true in everything. So think about, work, home, friendships, body, all the different domains. So they may show up in very different ways. So it's about understanding and sort of reflecting on, is that something that's at work for you? And then the second half of the book is about how do you get pulled forward from there? Once you recognize these things that have been holding you back, where do you go from there? And some of that is around like getting really connected with what's really important to you and what can drive you and motivate you. And then some of it's like very practical tools around how do you build a success architecture for yourself to move forward, and some really great tips on experimentation. So some of the key things, and the first thing that she starts with actually in the book is the inner critic. And the inner critic is a good friend of mine, actually not a very good friend, but I'm very familiar with my inner critic. Some people call it like the sort of the inner dialogue, the internal judge, critical self-talk. Can be mean, nasty voice that is trying to protect you, keep you safe, because of the fear of things like being excluded from the group, embarrassment, failure, that things won't be perfect, that you won't be accepted by the group, that you'll look bad, so that, maybe you'll even hurt yourself, like physically. And this is a survival instinct that we have evolved. This helped us evolve as a species, but it's sort of not very useful anymore. And so that is where she starts because it's so like foundational, and we all have it just to some degree and probably in some domain of our life. And so she's got some great tools for, first of all, how to identify it and then how to manage it, because we don't get to not have it anymore. Apparently,
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not a button that you can be like, okay, off, but you can work with it and you can minimize it, turn down the volume or tell it to get in the back seat of the car. Like it might be yapping away, but you're not really going to pay attention to it. I've read a lot about the inner critic. What I love about what happens in this book is how she brings in the kind of the counter force or the good force, that taps into your true wise self. And if you can really tap into that, it also helps quiet the inner critic.
Right.
And so you're
And
sort of changing the balance of power.
I love that it's the quieting or it's the moving of around an inner critic. I just saw a podcast. It was titled Silencing the Inner Critic. And I'm like, bullshit. Like you don't silence it in my mind,
Yeah.
in my experience.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
you turn towards it, you appreciate it, you put it in its place, but it doesn't go away.
Yeah.
Turning down the volume is a way of silencing it, but and the other thing is maybe to bring up is you can have multiple inner critics or multiple voices.
Mhm.
Like for me, one
Yeah.
of them is restlessness, which, desire to kind of always keep going and moving.
Yeah.
And I've labeled it the truck driver, like you always got to go, you always got to go, you always got to go.
Oh my gosh, that seems so
So
right for you, Peter.
it is, it is. So there's that. Yeah. So there's that. And it can
Yeah.
combine with others and other voices.
Oh yeah.
And
Perfectionism. Classic.
yeah.
Can't do anything unless it's perfect. Well, then you're not doing anything.
Hmm.
So perfection is the what do they say? Perfection is the enemy of done or
Yeah. Yeah.
avoidance.
Hmm.
Avoidance, right? As a way to not, that shows up too. Like that's a way of delaying and not dealing with things that are scary. So
Yeah.
we might,
Well, avoider for me shows up a lot, and avoiding and
yeah,
restlessness. It's like, yeah, I'm going to go move. You're moving past whatever is present because that's
yeah,
moving to something else, which is restlessness, is a great way for the avoider to be happy as well.
yes, yeah,
So yes,
exactly.
get those two in the
Well, I
back
could
seat.
think put them in the back seat. I was reminded too because I had this great conversation with a friend of mine about the inner critic or inner voice, and there was a friend there who was like, "That voice in my head, I love that voice in my head. She's like my best friend." And I thought it was so interesting. I was like, "That's cool." I'm not sure I totally understood the nature of this voice in the head, and I wish I'd been prepared for the question like, what's the tone of the voice? Is
Mm.
it friendly, curious, compassionate, or is it kind of nasty, kind
Or
of
even just
mean,
controlling.
or controlling,
Yeah.
judgmental? Yeah,
Like, oh, yeah, you
yeah,
should be doing this because it's good for you.
right.
Mm,
Should.
should. Yeah, there's
Well,
a nice
and
trigger word.
yeah, I think so that answers the question also for people might say, but that voice helps me get things done. Like fear is one way to get things done. I'm afraid that if I'll lose my job if I don't do it. Like that's fairly motivating. It's also fairly exhausting. Imagine a world where we could be driven by the things that we're intrinsically motivated to do. Like we desire to get it done for a different reason. So I think, there can often be a grain of truth in inner critic. It's just
Mhm.
how do we how do we take that kernel and be like, okay, thank you, useful information, or maybe not useful information, actually not useful at all. You
Yeah,
go have a cup of tea and put your feet up. Like, it's not what I need right now.
right. That reminds me of if you put your hand on something hot, it's really good information that your hand is on something hot. But you don't need
Yeah.
to sit there and do it and continue to have that information.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
no longer useful. So it's action of turning towards it and acknowledging it, but
Yeah.
like in the perspective of, is it still good for me? Like, do I need that safety? If that
Yeah.
safety is driven by something that we don't need to be safe anymore, like being
Yeah.
safe from a saber-toothed tiger when you have that same
Yeah.
feeling on TikTok or something, like that's you're not gonna get eaten. So it's maybe
Right.
not useful.
Maybe not useful. Maybe
Mhm.
sometimes a tiny kernel, but you get to decide what's useful.
Right.
So you're putting yourself at the center, and that's just over here. And it's just a little part that just, you can shut the
Yeah.
door.
Okay, so if you're able to notice your inner voice, your dialogue,
Mhm.
your soundtrack that's going on in your head, you said you were bringing up like the idea of some more positive inner, how do you
With the
connect
inner mentor.
your inner mentor?
Yeah, so she brings in this idea, and I've heard some things, people might call it the wise one, um, the your internal coach. I've heard it called that as well. Um, and she calls it the inner mentor, which is really tapping into. Usually, it's something you can access when you're in a moment of like still and calm. You know, meditation might be one way to get there. There are other ways, but it's usually something you experience when you're feeling grounded, connected with yourself, warm, peaceful. And it's really looking inward and believing that we are full of wisdom about ourselves, and that rather than constantly looking outside for answers about what we should do if we have a problem, a challenge, a question, we can look internally. We can look to this
Hmm.
inner mentor. You can actually, in the same way that you could kind of create a character for your inner critic, many people do have visualizations of like a image of who this inner mentor is. It might be someone in your future. That's kind of a visualization that Tara works with, and that actually
Hmm.
comes from CTI, Coaches Training Institute. That's a guided meditation they do. Um, some people actually see them, and for women, her in a space in a future home or garden. If they can actually see her, they see how she's dressed, they see what she's surrounded with. It's really pretty cool. And you can actually check in with that mentor and be like, what would you do
Yeah.
in this situation?
And other schools of thought that some of them have like their young kid or their innocent self, their innocent
Mm,
young kid, and connecting with that innocence. I don't know if it was in this book, but I thought she said also like visualizing or connecting to somebody that you look up to, like a figure, historical
mhm.
figure, or
Oh
somebody
yeah.
that's still alive. Just what would they
Mhm.
say to you?
Yeah.
It's a different visualization of the wisdom. I think they all
Mhm.
could work if people can't access one or the other.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think, and it might help you get to a place where you could connect in more with yourself. I mean,
Mhm.
I'll say for me, it was a little hard to get a visual. Like I do kind of have a visual. I'll say that I sometimes don't believe it because I'm like, is that something like? Where is that coming from? Is that something I want, or is that actually? I'm not really sure.
Mm.
But mine actually shows up in a somatic sense. Like I listen to my body, and my body's like, this is uncomfortable, doesn't feel right. Like it has been very useful in my life. That's something that was in my family. My dad had it, like it's just, and so my dad had it. We honored that. I'm born in Iceland, raised here, but in Iceland we kind of believe in being sensitive to things that we can't see. And so I think I was lucky in that I learned to kind of trust that because like that was a conversation that we would have in our family. If I didn't pay attention and really trying to figure out what was going on, so I'm a little slow in processing what it means. I just know that it's really uncomfortable. But if I sit with it, eventually it becomes more clear.
Mhm. And if I play
And
that back, I'll say in a different way is that when you're connecting with this inner mentor, that you are connecting with it probably out of your head and into your body and your heart, or
Mhm.
really all of them, but tending to get out of the head and into the body and heart, which is maybe one clarification for folks that, hey,
Mhm.
when you're going to get grounded and so forth, it's really try not to overthink and overprocess it, but feel it. Where's the felt sense
Yeah.
of it? Where are the emotions and the connection
Yeah.
behind that? Which is one way of connecting into that. Because you said maybe it's just a feeling, and
Yeah.
I agree. I think that's an interesting side. I heard this study about gut intuition. There's actually some scientific studies about how your body is actually really good at pattern recognition because that's where all of our senses are. And it makes sense of the senses first in pattern
Yeah.
recognition. So gut recognition is just something that happens before you process it in your head,
Hmm. Yes.
which is a really interesting way of looking at this for me. And especially
Yeah.
for the skeptic scientist kind of people, like that's a
Yeah.
very interesting. Like that's where all your sensors are. Of course it
Mhm.
could have that ability to make pattern recognition very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, some people call this the gut the first brain.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think for that reason, and actually one of the books that I read in our coaching program is a book called How Emotions Are Made, and it is exactly that. Our brain stores previous experiences and it feels sensations in the body and it goes, this seems like scenario B, like this
Mhm.
must be scenario B. So what is so cool about that is it gives us the ability to reprogram for ourselves what these sensations mean going forward. And you can see how traumatic experiences, bad memories, that our brain is just going, well, that feels a lot like this thing. So you can see
Mhm.
why people would be triggered by things. So yeah, I think, gosh, we're just on the cusp of like we've learned so much recently. And a lot of it is like we're kind of validating some some of these ancient wisdom traditions. you know?
Yeah,
It's like the science keeps validating this stuff, which is
exactly. Yeah.
pretty interesting. Yeah. So the inner mentor might show up in different ways for different people, but it is the idea of trusting your you as a person, your inner resources to help guide you. And usually our brains will create answers that are and plans that are complicated and gnarly, but the answers we'll get here oftentimes are very simple and very clear
Hmm.
because like we're so good at overthinking things.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of an example to help people through like what happens when the inner critic says something and then how the inner mentor can help move into a more grounded, aligned action going forward.
Um,
Do you have one I could?
I mean, I have an experience, but I also have just kind of an easy one, which is I think something I've also experienced in my life is getting stuck and not finishing something, a project or something, because I'm
Mm,
like pretty sure it's not perfect. It doesn't, it's not, does not have all the citations. It does not have all the data that I would want. And it's not unique and different and great and fabulous and like the best thing ever. So therefore I should not do anything. And when I when I look inside with that settled part of myself, she's going to say something like, you know, you just need to start. You just need to get started. It doesn't need to be perfect and get some feedback. I mean,
yeah,
yeah, no one's expecting perfect. Get over yourself.
yeah. No one except yourself, except your inner
Yeah.
critic, right?
Right.
Is
Right.
expecting that. I like
Yeah.
it because it prevents, I mean, that's the good enough or the MVP, the minimal viable product. Like get
Mm,
it out there, experiment, learn, iterate. I mean, businesses do it all the time.
yeah.
It's putting product development to our own development to some
You
extent.
right. I mean, look at what we're putting out in the world, which is so not baked and we're all
Yeah.
totally okay with that. I mean, we're not all totally okay with that, but like think about what's possible for us and how we can impact the world in much ways if we could actually do more of that. Uh feel more free.
Yep. My version of that is this podcast. I know it's not
Oh
great.
yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there's no way it can be, is one way I cognitively think about it because I haven't done it
Mm,
a lot. And how do you
right.
do it instead? I mean, how do you get better as you do it? The
Yeah.
quality is what I want is maybe up here, but it's like only over time can you close that difference.
Yeah. That's true.
It was a challenge, like releasing these first and then
I know, good for you.
committing to the process of doing that.
Yeah.
And yeah, feedback
I
came
love
up.
that for you.
I think she has a wonderful distinction on feedback around,
Yes.
yeah, how it's what they think and not necessarily
Yeah.
what is true or factual about what
Oh,
they're actually saying
yeah.
back. I forget how she exactly put it, but that's my summary of it.
Yeah. Well, this gets into unhooking from praise,
Mm,
right? So if we're constantly looking for acceptance for other people to acknowledge we've done good work, and the things that we do that'll be the goal. But is is that really serving us and what we aspire to do? Our goals, our dreams, our what we think we're meant to do in this world might be a little controversial. And so, and if you're a woman, I mean, just look at female candidates in the United States of America. You will receive criticism, you will receive negative feedback when you
mhm.
try to go outside the box.
And you mean
And so,
political candidates, right?
yeah, I mean political candidates, but
But it also applies to CEO candidates, to
y-
candidates for a
yes,
job. This is probably
yeah.
one of the places, yeah, that did strike me as how society has put these norms in place.
Yes, and how it shapes people, right? So a
Mhm.
woman gets stuck in like the double bind if she's powerful and competitive, then she's cold
You're a bitch,
or a bitch, right?
right?
And if you're warm, you're too nice.
Mhm.
Like you're not effective. You can't get anything done.
Yeah, you can't
Right.
lead. You're not, you don't
Yes.
have enough,
That's the female double bind.
yes.
So on the feedback, what I love about that is if we're hooked on praise, like I need more praise, that's what's going to drive me to do more, then I'm kind of taking that in. I'm using that as like an energy source for me. Like this is what's fueling what I do. She really advocates for like seeing the ways in which we do that. But then when we do get the feedback, it's like, how do we and this is like a cognitive skill and probably an emotional skill too. How do we see that feedback as not about us, but as really reflecting the person giving the feedback?
Mhm.
It really is, what does it say about them? Which I love.
Yes.
And can I add one more thing?
Mhm.
I can't remember the name of the book right now, but she talks about this in a like kind of
Embodied leadership.
embodied leadership.
So,
She says one way to work with feedback is when you're getting feedback, you visualize it in a space between two people. Like if you're two people having a conversation and you put the speech into a bubble
mhm.
and you look at it and you assess it. Do I accept this feedback? Is it correct? Is there something there? Do I reject it? Or do I take parts of it? You don't take it into yourself,
Mhm.
which I effing love. That has helped me a ton. I think I've in my life taken things incredibly personally, and it's not useful. Then it's all about me when the feedback is in fact about what's important to that person. And what is it
Mhm.
telling me about them? And how can I
And
be more successful, you know?
yeah, I love that, like sitting in front and looking at it from that perspective. It's wonderful because now you can be more curious about their perspective. Like it totally shifts you out of wearing it, like you said, or owning it or bringing it in. Instead, going, okay, what is their curiosity? And then she's like, if it's not somebody you want to influence, who cares? Like it's almost useless information. I was like, oh, that is a wonderful way to look at it.
It
All
is
this
really good.
of all these pundits and all this stuff going on in the world, we don't have to worry about what's behind that because there is nothing behind it. But if there's a customer you want to influence or some other leader you want to influence, yeah, this is great information about what is important to them. Oh, now I know
Yeah.
what's important to them. You can decide whether you want to engage with what's important to them or, now you have more information. It's like
Yeah.
information as opposed to, and what am I doing right or wrong? Or
Hmm.
the validation or the
Yeah.
validation piece.
Or judgment, right? Like, so I feel like judgment comes in there a little bit, like the way, oh, I
Mhm.
screwed up, the way I judge it myself. So we were talking about unhooking from praise. The other thing she talks about is how we work with fear and then good student habits. I think fear is interesting. And I know this is something that you
So one
find
of my favorite parts of that
particular,
book.
it's your
Yes.
favorite part. And then I can talk about my favorite part. Um, Yeah, I love how she makes a distinction on the types of fear. And maybe since it's your favorite part, you can talk about that.
Sure. She talks about two types of fear. The one fear is that it's a self-limiting fear and called pashad, and that it's something that's imagined. So one of the examples she gave was you're in a dark room and you're imagining all the nasty things that are in the room. That's spiders, the boogeyman, like whatever's happening in that room, it's all
Yeah.
imagining and it's limiting fear. That's one side. The other one's Yara, which is more of stepping into newness, a new space, into new energy. Or she also
Mm,
talks to in the presence of the divine. I also think of awe whenever she brings like
yeah.
there's so much awe that it creates this fear, and it's a fear that you're at your edge. And I think she even uses the distinction of horizon versus boundary or edge. It's because, like, the further you walk towards it, the farther away it is, which is what I
Mhm.
love. Like, there is no hard thing called a border or a boundary or an edge. Oh, it's a horizon. You walk a little bit more and you see the horizon's
Yeah.
farther out. Like, you can never get there. It's a fear that you should be seeking, actually. You're into a new space. You're playing big.
Hmm.
Or
Yeah.
Pashad is like, okay, this is preventing you from playing big because you're coming up with these fears or you're imagining these fears, and to me, they may not be grounded. Where is the evidence that that
Yeah.
fear is real?
Hmm.
And how realistically, like, is there evidence and how likely is it going to happen? And if it happens, you know,
Right.
can you deal with it?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, right, right. Like worst case scenario is also
Yeah.
like a really great, what's the absolute worst case scenario? Or like zoom out into the future and look back and really, is this a problem? When we're talking to people and they're listing their fears, the reasons why they can't do things. I've done this myself. It's a big list and you're thinking of all the reasons. But when people step into your raw with this feeling of awe and spaciousness and like almost they become quiet because it's
Yeah.
like you can imagine like just getting chills. Oh my, you just have this thing where like, and like,
Mhm.
I was meant to do that.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is what I was meant to do. So yeah, as she says, and as many people have noted before, many artists, for instance, fear is is part of the process. And so it's
Mhm.
like, how can you live next to it? How can you bring it with you? And fear actually has a certain energy to it.
Yeah.
And
The
so,
Ura side. We should also mention that
yeah.
these are two Hebrew root words
Oh, yes. Yes. Oh, right. Good point.
from the Bible, right? And so it's not her words she made up. She
Yes.
just
It's,
pulls these out of the Bible.
she was, I think it was a rabbi that she was working with.
Yeah.
We'll have to, we can look up the source, but it's kind of a beautiful way to acknowledge there's fear that's very limiting and there's fear that's like points to like expansion and possibility.
So here's one question that popped up. And I don't know if you've seen that video above and below the line, and it's driven by fear. So are you above the line, which is,
Mm-hmm.
where you're curious and you're open, you're engaging with others, you're in fear, you're protecting. It's just negative thoughts and negative way of being. And I was wondering if it's really Pashat in Yara,
Mm,
or is that too
could be.
far? So anyway, that was kind of one of my side
Oh,
thing I was thinking about.
yeah, because I think like above the line and below the line is, are you in presence
Yeah.
or are you not?
Yeah.
And you can apply that kind of vector to fear. Like you can apply it to a lot of different things. So I mean, I think it's super
Yeah.
interesting
Yeah.
connection.
So I love that because you
Yeah.
don't want to bring her along the Pashad fear, but you do want to bring it along the Yara fear,
Yeah.
where you want
Yeah.
to at least go towards that fear as opposed to the other fear, like the good fear.
Yeah. It's pointing to something
Hmm.
for you. Yeah.
And it's back to that hand on a hot stove. Like
Hmm.
if you sense it and I can handle this, like it's not too hot to burn me, I can go move forward. It's maybe a good limiting, like you're moving into this new space and new energy.
Yeah.
Um, and I love that new energy piece because
Hmm.
that's like a new space is like a new, if you're a leader, you have a new team, a new organization, a new charter, like something that you're stepping into, which is, I think is a new space. But new
Hmm.
energy is like, oh, like I am this leader. I am somebody who can play big. Like that's a whole
Yeah.
new space. That's not a new position or a new place in the world. It's almost a new mindset.
Yeah. And you can be nervous about starting this new job, but you can also be excited about the possibilities.
Hmm. Yeah.
You can definitely have both. And the one other thing is when you're in that scary, limiting, dark, constrained feeling fear, I mean, that's another time we're working with inner mentor. Again, you can come back to that and look for guidance. What's really going on here? What would you do? Or what is this about? And that's again, and in a way, that's just getting grounded also. You're getting back into yourself, out of your head and into your full self.
Yeah. Grounding yourself and then asking that question, what kind of fear is this? It's
Yeah.
maybe just a good reflection.
Yeah. What is this about exactly? Is it
Hmm.
my survival instincts or my instincts at play here? You know, what's going on? I think the other I wanted to go into core nutrients.
Great.
Should we talk about that?
Yeah. What is core nutrients?
What is core? They're your daily multivitamins.
All
And you
right.
can buy them Okay, so for context, one thing that we're often asked to do in like leadership programs, coaching programs, whatever throughout my life is to assess our values. Sometimes you'll get like a pie chart, or like you'll get a long list of words of values, like, and it might be like 50 options. I have to say that just never worked for me. It did not work because I'd be like, 10 of those are like so important to me. Maybe it's my Enneagram 7 mindset where I just want it all to be true. So for whatever reason, they just didn't connect. It felt like a intellectual exercise a little bit.
Hmm.
Tara introduces this idea of core nutrients, and I don't think it's in the book. I think it's just in the program that we're taking, which is grounded in this one little reflection that you can do to access them is to think about core experiences. Think about times in your life where you felt in flow, like totally empowered, just things were frictionless, effortless. You might have been working hard, but something was really unique about this time. And then start to find some words to describe those feelings, and then to look at those core experiences and start to look at like what are the underlying themes there. And what I love about core nutrients is it's sort of about what do I need to be doing in my daily life to fill my cup and energize me. And so for me, like connection, I'm still working on my core nutrients, by the way, but it's definitely like connection, community, play, and laughter. And yeah, I think love, I don't
Hmm.
know. I'm still working it out. And there's like a creative element in there. But so what does that mean? Community and connection. Well, what am I doing at least once a week or twice a week that provides that? Because that's fulfilling to me. And if I'm not doing those things, I'm starting to run on empty
Yeah.
because I'm not doing the things that fill my cup. So you can usually come up with like 3, and you can even create like your own word chain to describe, create your own words, create your own concepts. It's a very simple way, I think, of getting closer to knowing what's important for you. My sense is it can evolve over your life. And I feel like mine are still evolving because I'm still trying to get closer to what they mean for me. And I still have a lot of values. I believe in love.
You just said values don't work for you.
Well, I just wish I had a list in front of me, and then I could just like start pulling out the words that sounds really good. That's really good. I love my family. I love being outdoors. I love nature. I would like for us to save the planet. Like the list can get
Hmm.
really long, right?
Yeah.
I like democracy. I think democracy is pretty good, so I like that. Now I'm being really sarcastic. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I
No,
shouldn't
but
throw shade on values.
no, it's fine because the distinction I like is it turns values from something you like or want or seek to an energy or nutrients, and it's how do I get energy? How do I fill myself up, fill your cup, as you said?
Hmm.
And it's really the same words, or it's maybe the way I would do it,
Hmm.
taking the values and going, okay, how does that show up and how does that energize? And I
Yeah.
think you talked about maybe you do it once a week, and I want to talk more about this because I think this is an interesting concept. If you have like 5 core nutrients, you don't have to do it all the time. You don't even maybe have to do it every day. It's really figuring out how often do you need to do to get that core nutrients,
Hmm.
like in your vitamin comment before, it's like you don't have to
Yeah.
have all vitamins all day, all the time, or in every meal or in every bite. You just need to have
Yeah.
all those core building blocks that supports your cellular function of your body over time.
Mhm.
Same thing here. So I think it's really people to understand core nutrients. And I think there's a step of going, okay, how do I get it? But having the mindset of it doesn't have to all come at once. In other words, it doesn't have to all come from work. It doesn't always have to
Yeah.
come from outside work. It can actually come from work, some of these things. So
Mhm.
like play. Play can
Yeah.
be in a lot of things since play's been on
Mhm.
your and my list a couple times here. You can play at work, you can play at home, you can play in the ocean, you can play wherever.
Mhm. Sometimes you can be doing multiple of those at once, right? Like
Mm.
you can be getting multiple nutrients out of a single activity
Oh, you can
or none.
value
That's
stack, like a habit
yes,
stack,
you
but
can.
for value. You can
If you
value
want to be
stack
really
or nutrient
efficient,
stack. Nutrient stack. Yeah.
nutrient stuff. Yeah. Well, it's like I think about it also as like how do you structure your life so that you're sure to get those things?
Hmm.
And when if you're thinking about making big investments of time or in a decision. Should I do that or should I do that? Does it honor those nutrients? Like, is there anything about it that honors that part of me? For me, I love working in teams at work, in volunteer stuff. Like the camaraderie of teams is that connection piece, but it's
Hmm.
also community. So I can get that at work, especially doing something that I really believe in, or in
Yeah.
like solving a hard problem. So yeah, you can get them in many different ways. What I'm thinking about, I really notice them is if I'm living out of alignment with my values,
Mm,
you
mm.
know, like then I go, something is really wrong here. And I just know in my bones it's like not the right place for me. Not everybody has a choice, like that's like a place of privilege to be able to say, no, I don't want to do that because it doesn't align with my values. I think what we're doing here is wrong. But it is also a very unhealthy way to live,
Mhm.
I think, because it just eats away at you ultimately.
To
Yeah.
me, there's also a distinction of knowing that you're doing something that's against your values and is not filling you up with nutrients
Hmm.
because you have to. You don't have the, as you put it, the privilege, but you're just not in the circumstance. But knowing
Yeah.
that, I think, is a big step. Not knowing it is can be even more detrimental because if you know it, then okay, when is the opportunity? And then you can look for when can you get back to more nutrients, or can you counter that, counterbalance
Mm.
that drain with an uptake? Which
Hmm.
I'm trying to come up with, is there an opposite word of nutrients? Like, is you also need to focus on what drains you
A
and
drain.
train.
Drain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
And
Soul
because,
sucking?
yeah, because that soul sucking, draining thing, because you want to minimize that and you want to counterbalance it with the thing. And again, I think this is like an average over time. Like,
Yeah.
we all have to do crap we don't want to do, and it's could be really draining. Doing that less is obviously better. It's a very simple concept, but I don't know if people think about what really drains them and how can I do less of it?
Hmm.
And less of it could be, how do you turn it into interesting? Like, how do you play with it so it actually is less
Oh, yeah.
draining or actually could be fulfilling? Who knows? Or is this something that you just can't do and you need to get off your
Hmm.
plate and tell people
Yeah.
no if you're in
Hmm.
that position to be able to do it. So I think examining both energy flows, the drain and the nutrient flow, seems like great
Yeah.
exercise for folks.
Yeah. And it reminds me of another book that we've worked with, Designing Your Life.
Mm, mhm.
Because that's, the Good Times Journal exercise. There might be another more bottoms up way to do this, which is just in your daily life, what's draining you and what's filling you up. Sometimes I do wonder if this is why burnout is so prevalent, is
Mm.
if there is like a clash, a misalignment of values or lack of core nutrients. Because you can work really hard on something you believe in. And now I'm going out on a limb here. I have no data to show this, but if you really believe in it, I think you're much less likely to get burnt out even when you're working really hard because you're getting this nice feedback loop. And in this world, I wonder why there's so much burnout. What's happening now that makes burnout such a thing? I mean, it's just that we just work too damn hard and there's not enough of the core nutrients. There's not enough play. There's not enough balance. I don't know. Or, is there a values misalignment?
Yeah. So two things. The first thing, I'm going to reference back to the book of you leaking power. You just leaked a bunch of power right there, which is about, I don't know. And you did a lot of leaking your power instead of
Yeah.
saying burn
Well, I don't have the data. So this is me
from
really
your
trying to be
experience,
careful.
from
Yeah.
your experience,
Okay.
or I, I, I postulate, I
Hmm.
hypothesize. You don't have to be, but I think you leaked some power there. But to your point, I do agree that the burnout, when you're connected with a purpose and a why,
Yeah.
it's, I mean, the way I look at that is the purpose and the why sits here in the heart, and the gut is helping you to get there. So it's also an alignment thing. If you're aligned to what you're doing,
Hmm.
then you have your full body and you're not draining one part. And but I imagine there's people who are really passionate about what they're doing, but are burned out because they just are not managing that energy level.
Oh,
I still think there could be that case, but I think I would say it's the amount of imbalance you can deal with if you're passionately behind it is a lot higher than
mm.
if you're not.
That seems that seems true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, man, when I
To
don't
me,
want to
like,
do something,
eh,
there has to be a lot of energy going into me to even do it.
yeah,
Else you just don't do
yeah.
it.
You brought up leaking. So in the second half of the book where she talks about sort of action. So and core values, I would say, kind of flows through all of this. Well, one is she talks about hiding, which is what are some of the strategies that we might, we might be doing things, but we're not doing them in a way that moves us forward, that gives us exposure. So hiding is a great strategy if you are nervous about, for instance, getting feedback or being criticized or putting yourself out there and getting risk. So hiding is sort of a, put together inner critic plus fear plus, unhooking from praise, put all those together and you might end up with this hiding behavior, which I'm a little bit of an expert on personally. And what's one thing that can happen in hiding is like you're working in all these plans. Like I got a plan, I'm going to build this business, I'm going to do this project, whatever. And you've done all the research. You and I did some of this, like
Mhm,
designing at the whiteboard on a program we worked on without, much input. So you can be feeling really busy,
mhm,
but like not actually knowing if all this you're going down the right path or it's going to connect with customers. And so the sort of the thing that she recommends is idea of leaping, like basically doing short sprints. And it has to involve other people, like
yeah,
ideally your target audience. It needs to be a conversation. You don't even need to like show them anything. Maybe you could, but you give yourself 2 weeks to do one very simple thing. It's not the whole business, it's maybe research on the target audience. So leaping is a way to get out of hiding and to just start testing
right.
things and get accustomed to like being out in the world.
Yep. I love this idea of whiteboarding for a couple reasons. One is it's a client of mine that we're already using that nomenclature, and literally she
That's
has a
awesome.
whiteboard in her office, and I'm like, "Okay, so who have you talked to in that
Yeah.
realm?" It's a great reminder of it's a sprint, but it's a sprint that's with the people you want to influence or be potential customers or engage with and whatever. I love that.
Yeah.
Get out in the real world. The other thing is I think
Yeah.
this is a great antidote to ChatGPT because ChatGPT is the
Mm,
ultimate whiteboard. Like you're sitting
yeah.
there whiteboarding with this thing, not engaging with anybody in the real world, thinking
Mm,
you're getting this broader perspective on life. Here's what I talked to ChatGPT about. What do you think, Mr. or Mrs. person that you're talking to,
yeah.
wanting to
Yeah.
engage with? Like in my case, a client. Maybe talk to your team about it.
Yeah.
That seems to be a surprising comment or question that I ask a lot of clients. Like, have you talked to your team about this? Or what does your team say? I assume that they've talked to them.
Yeah.
Like, well,
Right.
I haven't
Right.
brought it up yet. I haven't brought it up yet because it's not fully baked.
Perfect.
It's not perfect.
Yes. I do
I need
remember
more
one client
research.
like
I need
that.
more thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
I need. I mean, we
Yeah.
did a client a year or two ago that the leader wasn't willing to make any changes and not talk to the
Yeah.
team about it. I think it's prevalent.
Yeah. That's so interesting. And you think like the people that are on the team are like closer to the front line. Connected with the trenches. They're going to have some good ideas.
Hmm.
Or they're going to have feedback on the impact it'll have, whatever it is. So it is kind of shocking. But yeah, that's where you get into this like fear. I think that's like a perfectionism mechanism. It may even like hiding can even like play into that a little bit.
Hmm.
The other part of like leaping, which is talking to people, is every time you have that conversation, you're building your network. But every time you speak to another person, you add them to your network, you get this whole it's their whole network now that becomes like that you're connected to.
Yeah.
So it's so powerful.
And the other thing that I thought about is this concept of leaping and getting out to the world and talking to people in the mindset of like Steve Jobs and product development, where you can't go talk to the customers because they don't even know what they want.
Oh,
And to me, I was like, are these at odds of each other? And then I'm like, no, they're not really, because I think what Steve Jobs was saying is you can't go ask them about an iPhone when the iPhone doesn't exist. But what you can ask them is, hey, what do they want in their life? What are their pain points? It's more of
mhm,
studying their behaviors and their pain points and understanding that. You can go to your clients and, hey, what are your pain points? How can I better help you? Like, it's very
mhm,
open ended, very fundamental things. And then you can figure
mhm.
out the products and services that provide more value to them, so it's a win-win kind of providing value to them. But it's a bamboo shoot. Like a bamboo shoot grows and grows and grows underground, apparently for a long time. And you don't know it's growing, but then when it pops up, it grows really quick. But it grows really quick
Yeah.
because it has this massive network underneath the ground you don't
Mhm,
even know. In other words, you've
mhm.
done all this work and you've tried and you've failed and you've talked to people and you've iterated and you iterate, and then you have the success, and all the stories are written about the success that happened overnight. No,
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
happens that way.
That's true. That's
But
true.
that's how it's
Yeah.
portrayed to us over and over again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
get out in the world.
Talks about communicating with power. So we talked about leaking power a little while ago. This is about all the ways we might communicate that keep us safe in our communication. Like
Mhm.
being unwilling to make maybe a bold statement, using a lot of filler words. It could even be a tone of voice. Are you making a statement or are you asking a question? It's actually a great chapter in the book, and it helps us identify our own habits and build up some new habits and practice. That's, I would say that just for that chapter, it would probably be worth reading the book. If you're someone that has a problem or is nervous about speaking, has a problem communicating, may have been given feedback that you don't have enough executive presence, for instance. That's
Yeah.
very helpful. That one, and in the course, she does a whole section on negotiating. It's really good. It's excellent. And that's probably maybe a whole other podcast. She
All
says
right.
a series of tools, and really like the essence of the negotiation is preparation. And how do you put yourself in the place of the person you're negotiating with, and really understanding what their desires are, what their needs are, what their objectives are, so that you can go in and you can negotiate. Basically, the whole idea is that it's a creative process where you can both come out happy.
Yep.
You can achieve their goals and your own goals. And so a lot of it has to do with preparation. I found that chapter actually super interesting.
Yeah, there's 2 parts of this. There's the understanding the third perspective, or the other
Hmm.
person's perspective. The other thing I like is the third person perspective. If somebody was a neutral person was describing what the heck was going on in this
Yeah.
negotiation, this also applies to difficult conversations, because I think there's a lot
Mm.
of similarities here, which is how would they describe the situation? Oh, they would describe
Mhm.
2 people discussing this and this or whatever, like very
Yeah.
neutral, right? Then
Yeah.
the other perspective, because 3, 2, 1 is the whatever the naming of it. So the third is
Hmm.
their perspective, the other person's perspective, and then your perspective. And I like the your perspective in the negotiation and difficult conversations is like, what are you going to be triggered about? What inner critic might come up, and how might you be prepared for that? What would your
Hmm.
inner mentor say in that situation if that arises? Not that you can predict everything, but you can also understand what's most likely. I think with fair good of accuracy, some triggers that could come up, so that
Yeah.
you're not triggered and therefore trigger the other
Hmm.
person. Or when they get triggered, how do you not get triggered? And it doesn't always happen. You can always pull the ripcord if the worst case, or make up an excuse to pause. I always love telling people like, go to the bathroom, even if you don't have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody's gonna say
Take a
no,
break.
you can't. And it
Right.
makes them you have a break, but also makes them have a break, which is the other thing I always point out. Like a break for
Hmm.
both is good, and then coming back to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So kind of having that part. I don't know if she covers that in the negotiation, but that negotiation and difficult conversation. I think it's a type of
Yeah.
difficult conversation. You try
Yeah.
to
I
influence,
think
right?
it is for many people. Like,
Mhm,
I absolutely hate negotiating. Are you kidding me? I'm
mhm,
like terrible at it. But this actually made me feel that with the right tools, with the support, I would have a totally different approach the next time I was negotiating something. It's preparation about what the other party needs and what it will take for them to be successful. But the other piece is, what do you actually really need? Yeah, I could give a little in a few places, but what are the places where they're non-negotiables, and being super clear going in on that. So
Yeah.
again, it all comes down to preparation.
Yeah, it's like your opening ask versus your walk ask, like walk away from the negotiation
Yeah,
ask.
yeah.
Yeah. But
And
that's usually a money thing, and this could be also much more than that, like what it
it could
like
be
back to
time.
core nutrients, like,
Yeah.
is if your negotiation is part of getting some core nutrients or whatever, is that what you really
Yeah, I
want
mean,
or
it
what
could.
you need to have?
Yeah, or like, is it money, or is it I want to be able to work from home, a couple days a week? I need like flexibilities. Is it flexibility or money? Which one is more important? You'd love to have both, but you might be in a position where you need to decide, and then you need to be clear on what's important to you.
It's something I've asked a lot of younger folks, including my kids, like, when
Hmm.
they're going in, like, "Hey, things are going well," and I have a review with my boss. I'm like, "Well, what do you want?"
Yeah.
I don't know." Like, between money, time off, vacation, some extra benefit, less work, more
Yeah.
work, like, what do you want? You better know that. It's a very fundamental thing, and it's something like, when I was a manager, I would always ask, "What do you want?" Someone would just say, "I don't know," or someone would give me the list of everything, which is
Yeah.
basically the same answer, which is, "I don't know."
Right.
So it's like, okay, what do you prioritize? And then
Hmm.
also what I like getting them really asking is, okay, those are like a bunch of work answers. What do you want in life?
Hmm.
And that's what
Hmm.
stopped them. I'm like, all right, come back next week and let's talk about that because you need to think about that.
Yeah. 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 And I think what do you want is like, it sounds like it's in the context of the negotiation. And I would like reframe it as, where are you headed? What do you want out of this career? What are your ambitions or
Sure.
not?
Because I was answering for my 5-year-old self or something back in corporate world. But I think now
Yeah.
I would ask him much more of an envision question to your
Yeah.
point. Like, how do you envision yourself in 3 years from now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what does that
Yeah.
mean? And how do you describe
Hmm.
it? Like, one of the ways
Hmm.
I say it is, if you call me up in 3 years and say, "Hey, Peter, my life is wonderful," how do you describe it?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a much better technique than what I
Yeah.
did. I love that envisioning
Hey,
piece.
we can always be learning new things.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're good examples of that. There is a section on callings, and I think callings is the idea, and I won't go into too much. Callings are like, what is the thing that you feel that you're put on this earth to do? Or you experience a situation where it like felt like you feel called to jump in because you happen to have the right experience, the right level of interest, just all this sort of things come together um, that make it super clear. And if we're lucky, we get to have a few of those. This came up when we were talking about values earlier. Uh, You can be called to do something and it doesn't have to be your full time job.
Mhm.
Right? You can be called to create art. You could be called to be helping immigrants and navigate the systems in their communities. And that could be a volunteer thing that you do a few hours a week.
Yeah.
So callings are, I think sometimes, and I see it, especially I saw it with myself, but other people maybe going through big transitions. You can want the next thing to be something you're called to do, which is kind of a binary thing. So does that mean completely changing careers? Like maybe you could do that, but like maybe it doesn't have to be that extreme.
Mhm.
Maybe you can do it. It's, a few hours a week, actually. It doesn't need to be your full-time job. You could still be in a career, paying your bills, whatever. You don't need to go off and get like a graduate degree. And only to find out 4 years later or 2 years later that, oh, it's not actually what you wanted to do. And
Yeah.
and yeah. And callings can also be like not forever. They can be like you can do them for a while and then they're done.
Or they evolve. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always look at callings, just kinda back to that, is what are you pulled towards as opposed to what do you push towards?
Mm,
Because the distinction for me is there's a lot in the way you grow up in your family system, your society, and your culture that is pushing you.
mhm,
And in
mhm,
America, it's like, pushing you to get more crap, more money, more things, bigger house, car, whatever it is, materialistic stuff, push, 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 push. Calling is like, okay, but I really want to do that. Okay, but I'm
Yeah.
being pushed towards here, but I'm getting pulled towards here, pushed towards here. And finally
Yeah.
that tension kind of breaks and you
Hmm.
can go off and do some piece of it. Don't take a huge leap or an extreme version of the leap we were talking about today. Don't do that because experimenting or prototyping and one, just to realize, do you really want to do it? Is this the
Yeah.
whiteboarding? Like, oh, I really want to
Yeah.
go do
Yeah.
this. I'll put it in a different context. This happened to a person I bought my van from. I want to live in a van. She sold all of her stuff in California,
Hmm.
everything, house, cars, everything. Flew to Florida
Wow.
with the van. She was going to travel around the van. By the time she got to Colorado, she sold the van. She never,
Wow.
and I don't think she ever stayed in it
Yeah.
either,
Hmm.
which is a little not so much on the committing out and really trying it, but
Yeah.
like
Wow.
you try it out before you do everything.
Yeah. Rent the van.
Yeah. Like try a weekend, try a day in this
Yeah.
case, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's really kind of testing, prototyping, experimenting, and finding out if you do it before you do that huge committed kind of no return type of huge, massive disruption.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, the last section in the book, well, there's another section which is like, how do we bring this into our communities? But on the action front, it's the Let It Be Easy chapter, which I really love. So this is all about building a success architecture, right? And
Hmm.
so um it's like, how do we create systems for ourselves? How do we make things gifts to ourselves rather than shoulds? Like, instead of should I do something, it's like, I'm doing something for me because it makes me feel a certain way. I love living in a clean and serene house, so I'm going to clean it up like once
Hmm.
a week, or whatever it is. You create the gift and you get out of the should, so it doesn't feel like drudgery. um
Yeah, that one is
I'm looking
goals,
at,
right? That was her like distinction on setting goals. You don't set goals to like, I'm going to set a goal to clean my house, to use that one. Like, I'm going to clean
mhm,
my house 3 times a week. No, I want to live in a place. I'm going to give myself the gift of living in a clean place.
yeah, yeah,
It's the outcome is the same, but the
yeah,
mental kind of gymnastics, so to speak, or the mental approach you take is
yeah.
very different. This is something you want versus something you have to do.
Yeah, yeah, and it's so she framed, yeah, it's like shoulds, should goals versus gift goals.
Okay, should versus gift. I like that.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of nice. And so she's got a little table in there. What's the actual outcome you want?
Hmm.
Which I also think has a lot to do with what's kind of person you want to be, which I think like identity can play a role in some of this too. Um, she talks about creating champions. So who are the people that might be the people who will help keep you accountable, who will cheer you on, who will give you feedback, and then create like forcing functions for yourself. I'm a big fan of forcing function. Create meetings, create coffees with a friend, co-working time. Like, you're creating checkpoints where something needs to happen and you're going to do it and you're going to show up because somebody else is going to show up with you, which I love.
Yeah, create a
Like,
podcast. That has the same
create a
effect.
pod. There you go. There you go.
Got to
And if it
release
doesn't,
every week.
there you go. And you've
Yeah.
been killing it. And you're doing your newsletter. You're doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah. It's that mindset though, as my coach put it to me when she's like, it's the drip. It's like keeping that drip going and like you have that
Yeah.
commitment really to yourself.
Yeah.
Like, okay, just
Yeah.
gonna continue doing this and continue doing this. And because I'm doing this, it leads to good things.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty awesome. And then
Yeah.
and then she kind of closes with, when things don't work out, how does she talk about it? Investigate it compassionately. Be compassionate with
Mm.
yourself. Be curious and compassionate and adjust.
That's almost kind of that feedback, right? Keep it out here and understand what it is. You don't have to wear the failure, so to speak,
Yeah.
or the negative outcome. But okay, it didn't work out. One of the coach said when you get like a report, like an Enneagram or some assessment, it's like, okay, what is it trying to tell me?
Mm.
As opposed to judging and dissecting every little word of it. It's like, okay, what is it? What's the big themes? And so like a failure, like, oh, what is that trying to tell me?
Yeah.
Is this whole thing wrong? No, just because something failed. We fail all the time.
Yeah, and gosh, I guess it's fail. Fail just seems like such a strong word sometimes because it's also you learn something in the process.
Yeah,
If it
failing is a
didn't work,
negative.
right? And failure has a very strong kind of like moral judgment kind of frame to it, even though like factually it might be true, right? Like
Yeah.
that thing didn't happen. I wanted this thing to happen. That didn't happen.
Yeah. But the intended outcome may not have happened, but the path towards there, if you're on the journey, it's not a failure. If
Yeah.
you only care about the endpoint, then yeah, it's a quote failure, a negative thing. So it's maybe even
Right.
a
If
mindset.
that's the end point. Yeah. If
Yeah.
that's the end point. Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever you're going after will be different because
Mm-hmm.
you're doing these iterations.
So
So
true.
it's even hard to define what is a failure on a prototype. Not
Yeah.
doing it is a failure. That's one clear I would
Oh,
call out.
that's it. I
But
agree with that.
everything else, like even not being able to make a prototype, it's like, okay, why did we fail in making a prototype? Oh, because this thing's
Hmm.
really complex to make. Okay,
Yeah.
you probably learned a lot about your product by not being able to
Right.
make a prototype. Like
Right. How will you do it differently
there's
next
so
time?
many things I can think of. There needs to be a new word for failure in the
Yeah.
prototyping, trying, experimenting mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. I-
It's appreciating the action. It's getting off of the
Right.
whiteboard and getting in the world,
Yeah.
doing a leap.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a miss,
it
not a
is.
failure.
All right. Anything else from the book or the
Anything
world
else from
of
the book?
Tara?
I'm a fan. Tara Sophia Mohr. Let's see, I have her book right here, but people can see it. It's all marked up. Practical wisdom for women who want to speak up, create, and lead. I'm gonna I'm gonna read something from the introduction of her book. Um, this is not about the old school notion of playing big, more money, more prestigious title, a bigger empire, or fame. It's about you living with a greater sense of freedom to express your voice and pursue your aspirations. It's playing big according to what playing big truly means to you.
Hmm.
I love that. I think it was
Yeah, that's
just,
wonderful. Yeah, that is a good reframe of playing big.
yeah,
It's not that
yeah,
push what society is pushing us into. Yeah,
right. It's not about a bigger house. I mean, it
correct.
could be if that's what you truly want, but
Yeah. Since you're Icelandic and since
mm,
you showed me your country in last year and my mom
yeah.
and sister, what from the Icelandic culture, traditions, way of being and living would you say would be an insight for leaders?
Hmm. Well, it's for me, it ties to maybe there's two things, but it is the way that families are valued in the culture and specifically children.
Mm,
So the society is structured around ensuring that children are healthy and educated. And that looks like affordable daycare for single parents. If you are split up from your spouse or partner and you have a child together, the government pays child support and they go after the partner for that money. So you're not chasing your partner for child support, which is very common here
yeah.
in the
Mhm.
States. So to me, it's a placing that value on your future. I think it's playing the long game, and I think we suffer in our world here from being very short-term focused, like short-term profits, impact success now. But what is the trade-off? I think we're seeing what those trade-offs are. It also add is that they're doing so much work around. They actually do have quotas for women in leadership there. And so you are seeing a much bigger representation of women on corporate boards, foundation boards, in government. And when you see people like you in power, it makes everything possible.
Nice. Yeah. Those are two good takeaways that people can take into their leadership world whether that's in corporate or just leading their own lives.
Yeah. Our children are future citizens and also future consumers. Sorry, I hate to bring that in, but like, so it's in our best interest.
Hmm.
It's in our best interest to have the next generation be able to step into leadership and their power and run the world and take care of us because one day we're going to be old.
Hmm. Yeah,
I don't know. Just seems very practical to me.
it is. Yeah, the long game and challenging leaders help those around them play big. And playing big could
Yes.
be seeing them in all kinds of positions, including leadership
Hmm.
positions,
Hmm. Yeah.
and taking the long game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And be a coach. And if you see somebody struggling, give them this book,
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
That's wonderful. All right. What's a leadership lesson that you keep learning over and over again?
Oh, God. Don't second guess yourself. Make the
Mm.
decision great.
So
Make
let's
it the best
dissect those.
decision.
Don't second guess yourself. That's
Hmm.
the first part.
Hmm.
So what's behind that?
That is talking yourself away from something intuitively, your
Mm.
initial, whatever your initial answer was in your mind, talking yourself out of it for
Yeah.
all these reasons, probably that we talked about, right?
Yeah. I was just gonna say inner critic and bleeding power and hiding, like these all kind
Yeah,
of come into play there. Okay.
totally. 100%. It's scary. It's like, it's out there, whatever, blah, blah, all the good
Hmm.
cognitive reasons. And I usually have pretty good intuition. So I think, trusting that. Um, and, and maybe it's not always trusting it, it's just inquiring
Hmm.
what's going on. Like, what is this about? Paying attention. And then I'm a person that loves change, but the downside of that is sometimes I regret change.
Mm.
But in life, we make a decision. I really now start to think that the job at the beginning is to make that decision the best decision it could be, right? To make it as a great decision. And what are the things you need to do to make it great
Yeah.
and like less hard or
Mm.
whatever it is? So you're not living in regret and you're adapting. Like, so does it apply to leadership? I don't know. But this is kind of what comes to me.
I mean, to me, it's a hell yes. Here's why: because leaders doubt their, I'll just say their data sources, whether that's
Mm,
internally in your gut or whether it's from your team or whether you have enough, whether you trust the data.
yeah.
And you do need to have enough, but if you wait too long, you lose the opportunity.
Yeah.
And so there's boundingness, which our friend Emily calls the zone of decision making in her
Mhm.
tactical patience perspective. The other part of making a great decision is one it's not, I'll just say what it's not. It's not perfect. It's actually moving. Many decisions are reversible. And we forget to tell ourselves that or remind ourselves of that. Like, this isn't changing the world forever. And if you take it with that experimental mindset we talked about, okay, this is a decision. Let's move forward. Commit to it, move forward, try it out. And then what happens?
Yeah.
And whatever that time is to go implement and get some feedback and some data, and as opposed to if it's right or wrong,
Yeah.
perspective. Yeah, that totally applies.
Yeah. Some decisions are more permanent. And so be all in
Yeah.
once you've made it. And I think in the context of business, you be all in until you know it's not working.
Hmm. Then you
And
challenge it.
then, challenge it. You cut your losses. Don't let your ego get in the way if something was a bad decision. Because based on all the information you had and all the information sources you had, you made the best decision you could.
Yep.
So
And keep moving. I mean,
keep
don't try
moving.
to go backwards, right? Not
Yeah,
to
try
get
not
into
to
that.
do that.
Yeah,
What did you learn? What did you learn?
exactly. All
Yeah.
right. What's the one word that describes your leadership mindset right now?
Mm. Be authentic.
Hmm,
Authentic. Yeah.
I like it. All right. Well, thanks for your time today. Enjoyed the
Thanks for having me,
conversation.
Peter.
I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
leaders can take a lot of insights away from this,
I
and
hope so.
we'll see.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter.
Thanks for listening to Roar Mindset, Leading Through Chaos. Disruption isn't going away, but you can embrace it and turn it into an advantage. Until next time, stop fighting disruption, lead with clarity, and thrive in uncertain times.